I let my neighbor borrow my guest room after her divorce. Weeks turned into months. One morning, I woke up to find my bedroom door locked from the outside. She said through the wall, "This house responds better to me." My phone was gone. My keys too. And when I finally escaped the room, I discovered I'm 42. Divorced. No kids. Live alone in Columbia, Missouri. I work in insurance claims, mostly from home. I live in a quiet neighborhood, retired folks, young families, nothing too crazy. I've lived here 8 years. It's a good place to be left alone. Tara moved in across the street about 2 years ago with her husband. I didn't talk to her much. Just the usual neighbor stuff. "Nice day, need help with that?" That sort of thing. She was always out walking her dog, always had these huge sunglasses on, like she didn't want anyone seeing her eyes. I never asked questions. Then one night, she shows up on my porch crying. Big suitcase in one hand, her dog's leash in the other. Says her husband kicked her out. She's shaking, mascara running, her lips bleeding. She tells me he hit her. Said she had nowhere to go. I'm not a cold person. I don't just turn people away. I told her she could stay in my guest room. Figured she needed a couple days to sort things out. I didn't realize I was opening the door to hell. She cried the first night, said thank you 100 times. Slept in the guest room, kept the door closed. Next morning, she made breakfast. Eggs, toast, even coffee in a travel mug. I wasn't used to that. I'd been living off frozen dinners and drive-through for years. The first week was quiet. She kept to herself. Cleaned. Took care of the yard a little. I didn't mind it. She was actually kind of funny. We had dinner together a few times. She told me her marriage had been hell. That she'd been isolated, that she wasn't even allowed to have friends. I believed her. Week 2, she started bringing her stuff in. Not just clothes, decor. Throw pillows, wall art, even a diffuser she put in the living room. Said she just wanted to make it cozier. Week 3, I noticed she wasn't looking for an apartment. I brought it up once. She changed the subject. Said she needed to heal before dealing with any more stress. I didn't push it. One night she told me I was the kindest man she'd ever known. I should have seen it for what it was, a setup. But I'm human. I was lonely. It felt good to hear. Then the weird stuff started. She started locking the bathroom door when she wasn't in there. I'd go to brush my teeth and it'd be locked. Then she'd open it 2 minutes later like nothing happened. She moved my bed, physically pushed it to the opposite wall. Said the energy was wrong. She burned sage in the hallway. Said she needed to cleanse the house. I walked into my office one morning and found she'd rearranged my files. My insurance paperwork, tax returns, everything was in a different drawer. She smiled and said, "It needed organizing." That was when I started feeling like I wasn't home anymore. Like I was a guest in my own damn house. Then came the morning everything broke. I woke up needing to use the bathroom. It was still dark out. I went to turn the knob, and it didn't move. I jiggled it. Nothing. It was locked. From the outside. At first I thought it was stuck. I pushed it. Knocked. Called out. Then I heard her voice through the wall. "You don't need to leave that room right now." I froze. "Tara?" I said. Silence. Then, calmly, she said, "This house responds better to me." My stomach turned. I laughed nervously, thought maybe it was some kind of joke. But my phone was gone. My keys. Even my watch. I checked every drawer under the bed. Empty. I banged on the door. Screamed her name. Nothing. It took me an hour to get the window open. I had to rip the screen off and climb out barefoot. My feet hit the cold concrete and I ran around the house trying every window. Every one was locked. I finally got in through the garage. She'd forgotten to latch the side door. What I saw inside made my blood run cold. She'd moved all her clothes into my bedroom, hung her jackets on the back of my door, put her shampoo and toothbrush in my bathroom. She replaced my pictures, tossed my family photos into a box by the laundry machine. When I confronted her, she didn't act crazy. She acted calm. Too calm. "You were never really attached to this place," she said, flipping through a magazine. "You were just floating. I gave it a heartbeat. I told her to get out." She smiled. "Said she'd already filed for residency? Changed her license?" Said I. "Invited her to stay. And that she had proof." I couldn't believe it. She told the police I tried to make advances, that I'd been emotionally manipulative, that she feared for her safety. And the worst part? On paper, it looked like she lived there. She changed her mailing address. Her name was now connected to my utilities. They told me it would have to go through housing court. I had to live in the same house as her, for 2 more months, while the courts sorted it out. But I started planning. I installed cameras, hid them in vents, shelves, behind books. I recorded everything. Her locking me out, screaming at me, throwing my clothes into the yard. She even smashed a lamp once because I wouldn't let her use my truck. I kept a log. Dates. Times. Every little thing. I filmed her during one of her house cleanses, where she burned sage and walked around muttering that the home chooses its owner. She started throwing parties. Claimed I was just the guy who rents the basement. I filmed it all. 2 months later, I had a folder, documents, video, audio, photos. I gave it to my lawyer. The eviction went through. The restraining order stuck. She was served in front of her new friends. She screamed, kicked a flower pot, cried on the curb for an hour. She left. But she didn't leave clean. She poured bleach in the vents, left raw chicken in the attic, took my dad's war medals from the drawer. I didn't notice for weeks. She left claw marks on the inside of my bedroom door, like she'd been scratching to stay. But I wasn't finished. After Tara was forced out, I thought I could finally breathe. But peace didn't come. Not right away. The house felt wrong. Not haunted, not in the ghost sense, but violated. I'd find little reminders of her everywhere. Lipstick smudges on the bathroom mirror. Her coffee mug still sitting in the cabinet. Scratches on the hallway walls. She'd taken things, left others, and somehow everything she touched felt poisoned. The first week after she was gone, I couldn't sleep. Every creak in the house made me flinch. I kept thinking she'd come back through a window. That I'd wake up and hear her voice again outside my door. Then, on the 8th day, I checked my mailbox. There was an envelope. No return address. Inside was a single photo. It was me, taken from outside the house. Through the front window. I was sitting at my kitchen table, drinking coffee. I stared at it for minutes. My heart was pounding. I ran to check the security footage. My news system backed everything up to the cloud. I scanned through the last 24 hours, then 48. Nothing. She was careful. I gave the photo to the police. They said they couldn't prove who sent it. No fingerprints on the envelope. No handwriting. No threats. Just a photo. Just enough to let me know she was watching. 2 days later, my boss called me. HR had received an anonymous complaint. Someone accused me of inappropriate behavior with a former tenant. The phrasing was specific. The kind of specific that made it obvious where it came from. I spent weeks dealing with that mess. I kept my job, but the damage was done. People looked at me differently on Zoom. Like I was a problem. Meanwhile, she started sending letters to my neighbors. Handwritten ones. Telling them I was dangerous. That I'd held her hostage. That I'd manipulated her into staying. That I had anger problems. Even included screenshots of fake texts between us. Made it look like I was begging her to come back. One of my neighbors, Mrs. Daltrey, 3 houses down, stopped waving at me. Started crossing the street to avoid me. Another neighbor, Joe, came over one night, angry. Said he heard I locked a woman in a room for days. I had to show him police reports, court orders, proof just to calm him down. I wanted it all to stop. But then I noticed something strange. I was at the grocery store, buying milk, when I saw her car. Same make, same dent in the back bumper. Parked 2 rows over. No one was inside. Next week, I saw her again. Just a glimpse. Across the parking lot at a pharmacy. She ducked behind a car. She was still here. Still watching me. Keeping close. So I started looking into her past. Really looking. Her real name wasn't Tara Mitchell. It was Krista Donnelly. She'd done this before. In St. Louis 5 years ago. Then again in Kansas City. Every time, it followed the same pattern. Moved in with a kind neighbor. Claimed abuse. Took over. Filed complaints. Left behind chaos. She was never convicted, but there were restraining orders. Civil suits. Her name was mud in 3 different counties. I dug deeper. Found a Facebook group for one of her ex-roommates. A woman named Diane who lived in Springfield. She responded to my message within an hour. "Do not let your guard down," she wrote. "She doesn't stop until you ruin her first." That stuck with me. I had to ruin her first. So I started documenting everything again. Every sighting. Every letter. Every person she contacted. I built a second folder. This one wasn't for court. It was for war. I found the property she was renting. Cheap place, just outside town. She was using another fake name, Jessica now. I drove past it one night. Her car was out front. She was sitting on the porch, talking on the phone. I took photos. Then I found her latest scam. A new guy. He was older, mid-50s, drove a Lexus. She was living with him now. Already had her dog bowl out on his porch. I waited until I was sure. Took more photos. Got proof she was violating the restraining order by staying within a certain radius of my property. I filed another report. Cop didn't seem impressed, said it was borderline. Said she was walking the line. I needed to push her over it. So I set the trap. I made a new account online. Pretended to be someone interested in healing from narcissistic abuse. I joined the same Facebook support group she was in. Started posting about being lost, about needing guidance. She messaged me. Hooked in like a fish. She thought I was some divorced guy in another city. We started chatting. She told me her story, full of lies. Said she'd been held hostage in a home she tried to escape. Said the man destroyed her life. She sent pictures. One was of my living room, before she changed it. I had her. She even bragged, said she kept the guy's father's watch. That she'd earned it. I recorded it all. Every message. Every voice note. I sent it to my lawyer. To the police. To her new boyfriend. All at once. The fallout? That's coming. But trust me, it'll be big. When I sent the messages to her new boyfriend, real name Wallace Pritchard, part of me thought he'd ignore it. Or worse, that he'd fall for her excuses like I once had. But Wallace surprised me. He showed up at my house 2 days later. Early evening. Wearing a windbreaker and loafers, gripping a manila envelope like it had claws. "You Mark?" he asked. I nodded. Invited him in. He didn't sit. He stood in the middle of my kitchen and dumped the envelope onto the table. Inside were copies of credit card charges, weird receipts, and selfies he'd found on his own phone, some taken while he was asleep. She used my cards. Sent herself money through Zelle. Booked a damn spa day in my name, he said, voice rising. And the whole time, she's telling her friends I was emotionally abusive. Even told my daughter that I needed help. That I was unstable. I told him I'd been there. He sat down finally, let out a long sigh. She told me her name was Jessica Lynn, he said. I showed him the court papers. The restraining order. The eviction judgment. Photos. The messages she'd sent from the fake account. His face turned pale. She used the same lines with me. He muttered. Word for word. That's when we started planning. Not just defense. Offense. Wallace worked in IT security. Not a hacker, but close enough. He still had access to her laptop. She left it logged in at his place. Said she trusted him. He cloned her drive. Found her real documents, a folder full of fake IDs. Even one where she tried to sign a lease in my name, using forged documents. My signature, my license, she'd scanned and printed copies when I wasn't looking, months ago. That crossed the line. We contacted the authorities again. But this time, with more? Wire fraud. Forgery. Identity theft. Harassment. Violating a restraining order. Suddenly, they listened. But she still had one last play. A week later, someone broke into my house. Nothing was stolen. Nothing broken. But they went through everything. Drawers, closets, files. Left muddy footprints in the hallway. She was looking for something. Probably her laptop. I checked my cameras. She had her face covered, but the shoes were the same pink-soled sneakers she always wore. The way she walked, hands slightly curled, fast steps. I knew it was her. I sent the footage to the cops. They added breaking and entering to the list. She disappeared after that. Dropped out of Wallace's life. Abandoned the rental house. Then, out of nowhere, I got a call from an unknown number. Why couldn't you just let it go? She said. Her voice was tired. Quiet. Tara, Krista, whoever you are. You need help. I needed a home. She said. You invited me in. You said I was safe. That was before you started locking me in my room and stealing my life. She was quiet a long time. Then she said something that chilled me to the bone. You ever think this house chose me? Maybe it never liked you. Then she hung up. That same night, I got an email from an anonymous burner account. One sentence, no punctuation, they want believe you when I'm done. Attached was a voice recording, heavily edited, spliced together clips of me raising my voice, taken from our arguments. She built a fake audio file of me screaming, even threatening her. She was trying to flip the narrative. Again. So I hit back. Wallace and I pulled together every original file. The unedited video, metadata, timestamps. Proved the audio was doctored. We put it all together in a single, bulletproof package. And we handed it to someone who really cared, her probation officer in St. Louis. Turns out Krista was still on conditional release from a fraud case 6 years ago. Falsifying employment records. Her probation included a no-fraud clause. And now, we had everything. I didn't hear anything for a week. Then Wallace texted me. They got her. I called the courthouse. She'd been arrested trying to board a bus in Jefferson City. She had 5 fake IDs in her bag. A flash drive with more forged documents. She told the officer she was running from an abusive cult leader and tried to bite him. She was denied bail. But the story wasn't over yet. Because the court hearing is coming. And I plan to be there. And so does Wallace. And maybe a few others she's hurt along the way. The hearing date landed on a cold, gray Monday morning in January. I wore a black jacket, carried a binder full of printed evidence. Wallace met me out front of the Boone County Courthouse. He didn't say much. Just handed me a coffee and gave a nod. Inside, Krista sat at the defense table wearing a blue jumpsuit and a blank expression. She barely looked at me. Her hair was tied back tight. No makeup. No sunglasses to hide behind. Just a hollow stare. I wasn't expecting the courtroom to be full. But it was. 3 other people had shown up, 2 women, 1 man. I didn't recognize them at first, but then it clicked. They were from the Facebook group. Survivors. She'd done to them what she did to me, some worse. One of the women had been hospitalized after a breakdown Krista caused. The man said she stole $9,000 from him in 6 weeks. The other woman? Krista had taken her elderly father's identity and opened 6 credit cards. The prosecutor laid it all out: identity theft, mail fraud, breaking and entering, violating a restraining order, impersonation, forgery. Then they played the audio files. The fake threats she tried to pin on me. The metadata Wallace pulled proving she spliced the recordings. Krista didn't flinch. Not once. But the moment that changed everything was when the prosecutor read a letter from Krista's mother. A real, handwritten letter. It said, "My daughter has been running from who she is since she was 17. She is sick. She refuses help. She believes every lie she tells. I've had to move 3 times just to stay safe. She ruined our family. Please don't let her hurt anyone else." When that was read aloud, Krista finally cracked. Her hands shook. Her lips trembled. But no tears. Just fury. Like the letter had stolen whatever power she thought she had left. The judge didn't waste time. Guilty on all counts. Sentenced to 6 years without parole. Immediate transfer to a state facility. But the revenge didn't stop there. Her new boyfriend Wallace filed a civil suit. So did I. So did the other 3 victims. We won. The court froze her assets, what little there was. Auctioned off her car. Took whatever money remained in her fake accounts. We split the restitution. It wasn't much. But it felt like justice. And then came the part that shocked even me. After the trial, a reporter from a local paper contacted me. Wanted to do a story on Krista's years of cons and manipulation. Said she'd uncovered a list of victims across 5 states. Some hadn't come forward. Some couldn't. One woman had taken her own life after Krista left her penniless and isolated. They ran the story. Front page. The woman who made herself a victim and left wreckage behind. It went viral. Then it hit national media. A true crime podcast picked it up. Then Netflix called Wallace. They're developing a docuseries. I gave a statement. Wallace did too. The others agreed. Krista became a name people talked about. Not a manipulator. Not a seductress. Just a predator who finally got caught. But I didn't walk away untouched. I lost trust. I lost sleep. My job didn't fire me, but the rumors never fully died. Some coworkers still look at me funny. Like maybe some of what she said was true. Like maybe I let it happen. And maybe I did. Maybe I ignored the signs. Maybe I wanted someone in the house so badly that I didn't listen to my gut. So I sold the house. Every wall reminded me of her. The locked door. The camera in the vent. The muddy footprints in the hallway. I couldn't live there anymore. I bought a small place on the edge of town. No neighbors. Just trees. Peace. Wallace and I still talk. We're not friends exactly, but we share a strange bond. Trauma does that. Last I heard, Krista got jumped in prison. Another inmate recognized her from the podcast and found out what she did to her brother. She got a broken jaw and 2 cracked ribs. Karma. As for me, I'm still healing. But I don't leave my doors unlocked anymore. I don't offer help to strangers. I don't trust tears on a doorstep. And if someone ever tries to take my home again, they better be ready for war.